Hello. I should probably put my ears on. Okay, I got my ears on. Oh, all right. Fix it. Hello. So my guest had to cancel because she has COVID, unfortunately. So instead of canceling entirely, I decided to just jump on here anyway and just chat and hang out for a little bit. And then I'm gonna go over to Twitch later and probably DJ. Let's wait to get a few folks in here. I have a video that I want to react to that I have not watched yet. And I'm gonna OT for 20 a little. I hope you guys are having a good day. My day is doing all right. It's nice outside. And I'm trying to pick out computer parts to rebuild my desktop and get things ready for the trip. I have more laundry to do. What else? Yeah, that's about it. That's all I'm gonna do today. There was something else I wanted to. Oh yeah, this week I also wanted to do a trivia night. And hopefully I can get some folks together to do that. Liz will be back at home, so hopefully maybe I can get her involved and hopefully get, Summer and some other people involved. I want to do some like community style games where everybody can participate if they want to. I did do puzzles one night, and I know I could do them more again. That's more of a cozy thing, but I want to do like some trivia. Hi, Evil Blue Eye. How are you doing? So let's get into the video that I wanted to react to. And this is a thing that's been a problem in the LGBTQ community for some time. And occasionally we talk about it. Hopefully this is not too loud for you. Please let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. And where is my, let's do, yeah, there we go. How should I do that? We'll do it that way.
Of course I like history. Do you like underrated and important people in history? Have you not noticed my dark academia look? I was going for Pinterest librarian. Do you want to know more about LGBTQ plus history? Or dark,
so this
clearly queer.
This is Jessica Kellgren Bozard. She is disabled. She's a content creator, and she's also lesbian. And she finally did a video on RuPaul, which is our problematic person, our problematic drag queen.
No, don't throw that rainbow glitter at me. We'll never get her out the carpet. Okay, fine, making a point. How about a montage instead? What is happening right now? We're adding another installment to my historical profile series, looking at the interesting queer and or disabled people from history who we didn't get to learn about in school.
I really like her history videos.
Which school did you go to? You lucked out. Today we're talking about the first openly gay talk show host on national television. First, drag star to be inducted into Hollywood Walk of Fame, an international model who also works to raise awareness of HIV/AIDS, best-selling author, Tony Award winner, Emmy Award winner. Like,
Let me see.
can
I
you
should
not
probably
start
put
going,
captions up.
Shh, don't question mother. But also, yes, we'll get into that. And the Drag Race transphobia controversy. You really do want me to put this rainbow glitter away? Yes, we'll get into that too.
There we
I
go.
also point out
Now
that
you
this
can
video is sponsored by
see
Surfshark. RuPaul is also a
the
Scorpio.
captions a little bit
We
better.
tend to think of drag queens as cis gay men who play female characters, but this is in part due to the effect of earlier seasons of Drag Race. While some drag queens live their lives as men outside of their drag persona, people of any gender can be drag queens. Drag kings who wear men's clothing and perform stylized forms of masculinity are less common but do exist. Many drag kings are women, but people of any gender can be drag kings as well. Because RuPaul's character has the same name as his out of drag persona, I will be using both he and she when talking about RuPaul, because that is what RuPaul does when talking about himself and herself. But RuPaul does actually also have a drag persona who is very different from his personal self. Yes, RuPaul has described his public drag persona as 2 parts Cher, 3 parts Diana Ross, a dash of Dolly
I
Parton,
still
and
think
a
that
bit
he's
of
funny.
David Bowie and James Brown. And
But yeah, he is
Bugs Bunny.
some
Right,
bad
let's dive in.
hot
RuPaul's
takes
story.
about
According to RuPaul's
our
autobiography,
community.
Letting It All Hang Out. The day he was born, his mum declared he was going to be famous because no other alive had a name like that. I have actually removed a non-insignificant amount of Emma Dethers from quotes in this video. I need that monetization because building a family as queer people is expensive. And I guess I could say Mother Tuckers instead. Pause to check if that's monetizable. It is.
Excuse me.
But if you've ever found yourself falling down the rabbit hole of Drag Race and gobbling up episodes until you're wishing you could watch every season around the world, you might have discovered that you can't. What? Well, never fear, my dear. That's why you need the sponsor of today's show, Surfshark VPN. What's a VPN? It's Red Chili Peppers.
Hi, this is Mark.
Oh no, oh no.
This is a new content.
I'm sorry, there's an ad. Great.
Got Chili Peppers. Artists like Madonna and Andy Warhol hang around. It was a very cool place to be. Okay. It was the center of the drag explosion during the 1990s. A bunch of twisted queens pumping this sick look, all crammed up on this tiny bar, working a room that's no bigger than your average living room, and no taller than us either. Most of us bigger gals had to duck the entire time, or get a sprinkler stuck in our wig. A lot of us thought we could work on that bar forever. The media was, at that time, gaining a new interest in drag. The documentary Paris is Burning, which documented New York's ball culture, came out in 1991. In 1995, there was also Wigstock, the movie, a documentary on the annual drag festival in
Oh, I
East
remember
Bend,
that.
New York. This one actually prominently featured RuPaul and his friends, like the drag queen Lady Bunny, and yes, has an excellent title. There was also a slight uptick in drag fiction movies, like The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, in 1994, and To Wu Fong, Thanks for Everything, Julia Newmar,
That was a
in
good one.
1995. There were some others, but those 2 titles are long enough to list by themselves. RuPaul said in an interview on the Arsenio Hall show in 1993, and other people are of the same opinion, that there was just a massive swing in public opinion in the opposite direction after the repression of the Reagan era of the 1980s, and as a response to the bleakness of the AIDS epidemic. People wanted colour and fantasy. Even though drag was not as popular as it would become thanks to the show, RuPaul was becoming a recognizable face. He even worked with Mac
He
Cosmetics,
was
creating
all
a
over the
shade-inclusive
place.
line, part of the proceeds of which then went to fund HIV/AIDS charities. RuPaul was an actual model, guys. Still, when in 2009 he produced and hosted the first season of Drag Race, there was still a degree of stigma around drag. Also, pretty much the reason the only brand they could get to work with them was Absolute Vodka. You can watch more about that in my video about alcohol and the LGBTQ plus community. The eventual winner of season 1, Bibi Sahara Benet,
I actually never really
initially
watched
rejected
Drag
the invitation to
Race.
participate because she was scared the show would make fun of drag queens instead of celebrating them, as that seemed to be the general trend. That is a far cry from what the New York Magazine has called America's new pastime, loving drag. Victoria Porkchop Parker described having been mocked when she started drag in the 1980s, and even shot at during this season, though, so I guess it's just the kind of Americans who read New York Magazine. In that sense, the show served to present the lives and struggles of drag performers with a sense of humour and drama and to showcase different styles of drag at the same time. Diversity wasn't used the way it is used now, but that was always understood, even back then. It was also about having different kinds of drag. Pageant drag, fashion drag, glam drag. This was during the first season.
Must
when the
be
show
going to
only
be
had
painting my
9 queens.
nails.
There are now 210 in just the main franchise. In many ways, RuPaul's Drag Race queens are like Pokemon. Wait, which one was that? I thought her power pose was a 7. As it has become more established, the show has evolved from merely an introduction to drag for the mainstream to a trendsetter of the drag world. But what has that meant for drag performers, whether they've appeared on Drag Race or not?
Hello, I'm David Miliband.
I want someone to highlight drag kings at some point. I don't feel like I've seen any documentaries or anything about drag kings or the start of that. I mean, drag goes back a very long time. Women were not allowed to be actors, so it was men who always like dressed for women's parts in plays and stuff.
Drag racing, and the title sequence and song, Drag Race, both have a drag racing theme. For the first 12 seasons, RuPaul would say, "Gentlemen, start your engines, and may the best woman win." However, in the 13th season, it was changed to "Racers, start your engines, and may the best drag queen win." The show follows RuPaul in the search for America's next drag superstar. And absolutely no one owes Tyra Banks any money for anything ever. Don't you let her tell you otherwise. RuPaul plays the role of host, mentor, and head judge. As contestants are given different challenges each week.
I think a lot of the older generation queers have bad takes about this day and age's queer people. John Waters is one of them.
Test competitive skills in a variety
But I still love him. I love John Waters. A lot of my favorite movies are John Waters movies.
The upcoming Maxi Challenge or Cash. Price always goes down well. Following the Maxi Challenge, contestants present themed looks in a runway walk. RuPaul and the panel of judges critique each contestant's performance.
I've done a little drag king stuff, but I never really got super into it.
Lip syncs for your life. The winner of the lip sync remains in the competition, and the loser is eliminated. Generally, the winner is the contestant that her judges feel has displayed the most charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Work that one out yourself. The final contestants remaining compete in a special finale episode wherein the season's winner is crowned. RuPaul's Drag Race has spanned 16 seasons and inspired the spin-off shows RuPaul's Drag U, RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, and RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race.
That's a lot.
The series RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked, which, let's be honest, sometimes is actually required viewing in order to understand the drama in the main show. And there are others as well. Online, offline, there are podcasts, and there are numerous international franchises, including British and Australian and New Zealand, and versions hosted by RuPaul as well as Chilean, Thai, Canadian, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, French, Philippine, Belgian, Swedish, Mexican, Brazilian, and German editions, and international versus the world competitions hosted
I
by
love
the United
this.
Kingdom and Canada. Tyra Banks, who?
Matt.
I don't know her.
Matt Black.
But
So
they're
cool.
Mainstream. There were other platforms for drag in the form of drag beauty pageants that started in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like Miss
I really
America,
like this nail polish.
and National Entertainer of the Year. But modern ball culture started in many ways as a response to the racism in that pageant
I don't know if it's
the
gonna
creation of the house system. Even though there are also
Not
nods to other kinds of drag,
zooming in
the show is
properly.
very
Clean
important to New York
color with a K.
runways and categories
Nail
of drag
lacquer.
race
Matte
popularized
black.
a lot of vocabulary, and it comes specifically from ballroom culture, such as fierce, spilling tea, gagging, shade, or expressions of support like work and "Yes, Queen." Can you imagine a world where random people on the internet and on TV don't say "Yes, Queen"? I've already briefly talked about balls and the internet appropriating the language from Black American queer communities in a previous video, but let's just say that there is a tendency to forget where these words and ideas come from. And this is not limited to the cis straight fans. In the words of Naomi Maldonado, the Wonder Woman of Vogue, the ballroom scene is a part of the LGBTQ community, but not everyone who's part of the LGBTQ community is aware of the ballroom scene or have walked the paths of the ballroom scene. They don't understand
Paris
the
is
culture
Burning
of
is a really good
how deep and
documentary.
important it is to us. When I
And then
address certain Drag Race
Pose.
contestants or fans, about the proper usage
a-
of vogue and
about the
terminology,
ballroom
it's
scene as
they
well.
get upset and offended because they're being corrected, which to me is a slap in the face because you're appropriating. They think that it's all the same thing, but it's not, and they should be respectful. The expectations of many members of the audience when they encounter drag in the real world have also become defined by the things they see
Who
on
can
Drag Race, such as
put nail
websites,
polish on their
conversations in the worlds of
right
Emily
hand?
Kylie, British drag queen and author.
Trying not to mess up. Actually, not bad right
The show
now.
has also left mainstream audiences with narrow expectations of what a drag queen should do. We do get a lot of straight audiences at our show who expect the one thing because of the show and actually get something quite different. Of course, it is fine that RuPaul's Drag Race cannot represent the totality of drag or ballroom culture. Both drag and ballroom culture have rich histories that can't just be represented by one person. The issue is assuming that person.
The one movie that I really liked
Reality
with
TV shows
RuPaul in
really
it was
be one window into some aspects of a much wider culture. A culture that
shoot,
shows
what is the name of that
ultimately
again?
also off the movie Paris is Burning.
Uh,
I don't think anyone's actually asking.
my
about
brain's not
Paris is Burning,
working.
Armenian
Natasha Leone was in it.
the
No.
intersectional issues of the show. The problem isn't just on the part of RuPaul's Drag Race here. There's also an issue with the audience. In 2021, 1.3 million people watched the first.
But I'm a cheerleader.
season
That's
of
right.
Entertainment.
The movie, But I'm a Cheerleader. I love
Their season
that
15's
movie.
first episode. There are
And-
at this point 4 spin-offs and 12 international editions.
Fun fact, this tattoo right here is a hand-drawn star off of the album, my friend's album, who had several songs in that movie.
That's a lot of Drag Race.
They're called Dressy Bessie.
Account for how much people watching the show will know about particular issues because they come from a whole rainbow of different backgrounds.
Hi,
How much the
Onyx.
general audience are actually invested in the online culture around the show? Are they following all of the Queen's individual Instagram accounts? Are they picking up on those spicy subtweets from previous cast members? Did they see
Thank
that
you.
Queen's headline about
A lot of people
Queen's
think
visit
that
to
it was
the
just
show?
done
Does
poorly
their support continue
because
when
it
their
doesn't.
film isn't making
It's
them
a hand-drawn
Is
star.
fans getting
So I always
harassed
have
and
to
harassment online? Shannon
tell
Bean from BuzzFeed
people,
News
no,
says in her 2021
that's the way it's supposed to
article,
be.
Drag Race was a drag for a while. Now it's better than ever. The show's subversive.
Did you
and
guys ever watch
has been
Drag
greatly
Race?
turned
I didn't really watch
comfortably
Drag Race, but I
mainstream,
know a lot of people who
calmed
did.
down and derivative prior to season 13's release. She recalls that a flurry of political disputes as well as overexposure threatened to ruin Drag Race legacy before a refreshed 2021 season. Writers at the Daily Beast agreed with one Coleman Splag, noting that although Drag Race is a critical part of bringing empowering and inclusivity to the forefront of mainstream culture, RuPaul has continually allowed the legacy of his subversive landmark reality show to be slowly chipped away at, and that it's heavily complicit in the increasingly capitalized nature of Pride celebrations around the world. And some issues have been popping up over the years.
Kind of hate
that have
Pride
given
at this
opportunities to talk
point.
about representation, but also
I don't
about the dangers
feel
of getting all of the
that
knowledge of a
the
whole
parades
community
are
in just
usually
one place. RuPaul has been
accessible
accused of not
for
taking
disabled
seriously the
people.
racism faced by some of the contestants, and of fostering the kind of environment that
There's
reinforces
been
those
more counter
I
protesting
know,
against
I am
Pride,
aware
and it's
RuPaul
just,
is, in her own words,
I don't know, it's a lot for me. I used to participate a lot in my when I was younger and less disabled, but I mean, it's cool that brands and stuff do their Pride shit and like support us, but it's all capitalism.
Accusing the vixen of taking the bait when she was taunted, and the vixen eventually stormed out of the set. You may be thinking, that is not
I have a
racist.
music note
You may
tattoo.
be
The guy who
thinking,
did it
"RuPaul
didn't
gets to
know
make some
what
concessions
one
to
like.
others regardless
That's
of
funny.
race."
I mean, there's
You may be
different
thinking,
types of music
perhaps
notes,
you're
but
the
yeah,
an
that's
older
funny.
person relating and feels, honey, I had to put up with
For as much as
this
like I'm
too."
into music and I'm a musician,
Possibly,
I don't
drag
have
queens are known for
any
being
sort of
really
music.
steady
Oh, that's
level
not true. I don't have any music
relations
notes, but I have
roles.
music related
But
things
since I'm
on
not
me.
an expert on race relations, as a disabled lesbian in a mixed heritage family, I'm no
It was a
stranger to
friend of
having
a
to
friend.
explain why
He
a
did it for
seemingly
fun.
harmless interaction is bad, actually. Microaggressions are often an exhausting thing to describe and can be perpetuated by people who also fall into the same group. They are the kind of thing that emerges as a threat.
Okay.
Other people with similar experiences in the world may recognize them or may understand when something happens frequently enough.
So let me just do this really quick. So this one over here is a music related one. Stalfa is Icelandic for staring elf, and it's my favorite Sigur Rós song. And I just did it with some cliche dandelions with blowing in the wind. And then there's my witchy cat, which I got this hand poked. So this one is hand poked. And then this one over here is music related as well, even though I don't listen to the band anymore because they disappointed me. It's a Hanson lyric, Strong Enough to Break. It still means, something to me, and it's not like, and it's more vague. So it's not, you can't like look at that and like tell that it's Hanson related. But during 2020, things were revealed about their attitude towards Black people and trans people, mainly the drummer. It was really disappointing and heartbreaking, and so I ended my relationship with them. And they were my absolute favorite band in the entire world. I liked them since the day one. I was 15. They were the most seen band. I've seen Hanson 42 times. Oh, cool, Lisa. I've been wanting to get more, just hard to find time, money, and willpower. Yeah, a lot of mine, thankfully, are free because my best friend is a tattooist, but I can only get so many because I don't want to wear her out. And she hasn't asked me to pay her yet. I mean, I still give her gifts and stuff, but one of these days I feel like I do absolutely need to pay her more money. But she lives in a different state, so I don't get to go see her very often. Hi, Heather. So we're taking a little deep dive into RuPaul and his problematic bullshit. But if anybody knows anything about the elder queer community, a lot of them have weird hot takes about trans people these days and where the queer community went. Like my favorite director, John Waters. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my favorite director, John Waters, I love him to death. And I've seen him live, and he's just old. Even queer people can be a bit old-fashioned. They're like, we were transsexuals in my day. What is with all this trans stuff? It's kind of funny, but they're just, they're old. Some people aren't good with change.
It is clearly not a coincidence, but often when you try to explain,
I don't know if you guys ever watched RuPaul's Drag Race. I've never really watched it. I've seen clips of it. And there was someone from Seattle that was on the show, so I watched a little bit of that just to see that person.
Which then either makes you try to defend yourself and explain why you are upset, or just makes you wonder, did it really happen? I know this is a common experience I have, but I have no definite proof. Am I actually imagining it? Am I being difficult? Am I the problem? But structural racism is not about individual people being racist.
Oh, I forgot to put it back on the thing. I just realized.
Some very blatantly are. Structural racism is about how one's by thoughtlessness and stereotyping in ways that add up, or how there is a stereotype.
A lot of the older generation have horrible takes on everything, even their own race. Yeah.
Learn to not ever play into this, or ever react to anybody ever, and instead just be very strong and take it. Like how Black Americans are systematically undertreated. Yeah,
so I've even had conversation with some elder queers who basically think, well, I had it hard, so you must have it hard. Basically not realizing that we should be, celebrating when it's less hard for the next generation to do things. So it's a lot of projection, because it was not easy. Even in my youth, my teenage years in the 90s, it wasn't very easy to be out. I think I've said before that when I came out, I was 15, I think 15 or 16, and I lost some friends. I was bullied very heavily. I mean, I was already bullied, but I was bullied for that. And then I ended up cutting my hair short at some point, and I was just called a dyke constantly. Yeah, I want it to be easier for the next generation, and it seems like it's getting harder. It's almost like they've left the bulk of the queer community alone, but now they're going to trans people. Hold on one moment.
For pain, because some doctors still believe they can't feel as much pain as white people. I'm sure those doctors don't consciously think they're being racist, they just think black people can't feel pain, which is racist. RuPaul has tweeted in the past that racism has nothing to do with race, it's the ego's way of making you feel better than, which I'm sure is true for individual racists who are just insecure and need to find someone to hate for whatever reason. But that really dismisses the structural reasons why they've picked someone of a different race to bully and why people complain about racism. The problem with race and Drag Race is in part that RuPaul is very legitimately a marketing genius, a marketing mother-chucking genius. No, sorry, that didn't sit right. Okay, look, at the international multi-million drag empire he has created, look at the mainstream popularity of drag queens in television and media. If he has his
And also, we're currently watching Jessica Fozard. She's a disabled queer creator.
In white, normatively attractive drag queens, it makes sense that the show and he himself are going to be part of the problem. Not because he personally thinks that people of color are in any way inferior, but because his job is to promote what sells. But I think we can make the argument that when you control the narrative, when you control what is shown and what is vocally called out as being beautiful or being the best, could you not work to change the audience's perception of what is marketable? This does not only apply to race. For instance, after criticisms from the trans community in 2014, the show removed the sound bit, "You've got she-male," and changed it to "She already done had hers." Some LGBTQ plus people actually find comfort in the making fun of slurs or homophobic attacks when they are with their friends, because they know there's an understanding that the joke is the absurdity of homophobia or how unoriginal those attacks tend to be. But even in the LGBTQ plus community, a lot of trans people are not going to be happy when a cis gay man starts using trans slurs. Much like the case of ball culture, the show brings a vocabulary to a mainstream audience who may think these are okay statements to make because they're coming from a trusted queer source, or that it's language which can become part of anyone's everyday lexicon. Lance Bass from NSYNC wrote an apology for using a slur for trans people.
I love Lance Bass.
Oh, that is not something I had on my bingo card. And he said, "I can tell you with all sincerity that I had no idea. I often hear the term used on logos RuPaul's Drag Race and spent an entire summer listening to Christian Siriano use the phrase hot tea mess on Lifetime's Project Runway. In my definition, I was referring to the flamboyant and hilarious drag queens and transvestites who play on Christopher Street in New York City, some of whom I even call friends." There are limitations to how much.
Sadly, for a long time, it has been the norm for marginalized group to feel like it's not okay to marginalize the next group. Happens even in high school cliques, fan conventions, etc. Parents teach their kids how to hate the kids, see someone older than them hate on certain groups, and think that it's the right way to be. Yeah, exactly.
Drag Race can be expected to be an educational source and to get it right every time. So, just make sure that when you use terms for a particular community, you know where they're coming from and what that community thinks of them. Some members of the fan community can also be very judgmental of the bodies of the queens, and even in the show, some of the jokes made could be accused of promoting fatphobia. At the same time, RuPaul's Drag Race may well be the first mainstream show where many people have heard a bigger person be called beautiful, with no sense of irony, which definitely should not be the case. The representation is a bit of a double-edged sword that way. We need more representation for larger bodies, but then we also need them to not be made fun of in every comedy challenge.
Yeah.
And some of the philosophy and morals of the show are extremely positive in the right context. In his book, Guru, which
Even
is
people that I
everyone
know
goes
that
to
are
plan,
bigger,
delightful title,
they
RuPaul talks of how
have
leading
self-deprecating
the family in
humor
equality has been
and don't
a
feel that
fundamental
they're
part of his growth as a
meant
person and many
meant to be in the
relationships
group
life.
of hot.
RuPaul talks about some really powerful things here, like how you
And
have
then
to give yourself
then there's
out.
people who, when I say everybody is hot, like literally every body is hot, I think a lot of times they're not even thinking of disabled bodies. And they're usually very stigmatized, that like in the not sexy category. And I hate that.
How staying in dark places can get in the way of loving yourself or treating your body with respect and care, and how sometimes you need to reach out to those who want to love and help you and just ask for help. Now, this is a message that is an important part of what RuPaul's Drag Race stands for. This message of love and self-acceptance, or rather self-celebration, as a response to being considered strange or to being mistreated, is something worth putting out in the world. Season 14 winner Willow Pill suffers from cystinosis, a degenerative disease originating in the kidneys that also affects other parts of their body, such as hands and feet muscles, brain, and throat. During the show, she joked about her condition and she shared parts of her life, like how she does her makeup while dealing with the difficulty gripping with her fingers, and how she's had to learn to compensate for the parts of her body that won't respond as well. A sewing challenge would be my worst nightmare too. So she's certainly an impressive queen. RuPaul replied that she doesn't see her as the victim, and that while other people would succumb to such a disease, Willow Pill rose above it.
Inspiration porn.
Just not good things to tell someone with a chronic illness, really. No. Explaining my symptoms and how I live with them or mitigate them is not succumbing to my disease. None of us are actually doing that, you know. I mean, we're still here, still going. Is it a wonderful thing that Willow Pill was given the platform to describe how she does drag? She's actually the
It's
second
because we tell
person
jokes about
to
ourselves
show
before
she
anyone
does
else
drag.
does. It
Even
takes a lot
though-
for me to not
Always
tell
on
fat
Drag
jokes
Race.
about myself.
And
I understand
in the
that.
same season, we also have Dea Betty explaining how she has to make her outfits in ways that hide her insulin pump. Also, I should explain, but I probably should have explained at the top of this whole video, that I learned drag queens' names through reading subtitles on Drag Race. So I miss a lot of the jokes in the pronunciation of their names. Sorry about that. And earlier, Jinx Monsoon dispelled myths about how narcolepsy worked in season 5. Okay, wait, no, I guess that is 3 queens with chronic illness who've won Drag Race. I can't believe the Drag Race wiki article about Willow Pill would lie to me. But the show is, at the end of the day, television, and that means that often the queens need to have a narrative arc. And it's hard to deal with the adjustments that someone has to make in their everyday life in a way that is narratively satisfactory, because there is no end point to chronic illness, it just keeps being there.
Mm-hmm.
You try to write someone who is trying
Yep.
to give visibility to their condition with an overcoming narrative. It's very easy to fall into inspiration porn. Maybe what I like about you is you've never used your chronic illness as an excuse is not the best thing to tell someone who just told you their body is shutting down. Having a chronic illness is actually a pretty acceptable excuse to need accommodations. To be fair, it wasn't Rue who said that, it was Michelle. A moment of silence will give the stink eye to Michelle. It is great to have these queens being cast and their stories being told.
Oh, I didn't know she was in the new Doctor Who.
As a producer, even if it is for the sob story narrative, it is also clear that RuPaul can learn from his mistakes and is willing to change his position on controversial topics. And it's also very evident that when he does this, can have a positive effect in the drag community and in the queer community more generally. Like RuPaul's position on trans issues. RuPaul loves sharing his thoughts on Twitter, in books, in interviews, and that means we've actually seen his position on the matter evolve in real time over the years. In
Hey, Dawn.
The relationship between drag and the trans community, he said, "We mock identity. They, the trans community, take identity very seriously, so it's the complete opposite end of the scale. To a lay person, it seems very similar, but it's really not. And listen, I understand being frustrated with people's confusing drag performers and trans people. It is often a common misconception that conflation is a harmful stereotype for the trans community. And I guess, as a drag performer, you might feel annoyed if you put hours and hours into looking like a beautiful woman, only for someone to say, well, aren't you a woman anyway? Like, No, that's the point. Especially if you're a cis male queen, like the transformation is the whole thing that you were going for there. But actually, trans people have a long history of being involved in drag. The first drag queen RuPaul says he watched perform in 1978, Crystal Vea, was a trans woman. So I don't know if that's a very fair take. But RuPaul has actually been open to criticism on this front, and the show has evolved in kind. In Rue's words,
That's
in
good.
2018, each morning I pray to set aside everything I think I know, so I may have an open mind and a new experience. I understand and regret the hurt I have caused. The trans community are heroes of our shared LGBTQ.
Oh, well, that's nice. Okay, good. See, I like when people are learning and are, not afraid to confront their shortcomings and change.
Gasp, a straight man competing in RuPaul's Drag Race. And his opinion and what the show considers acceptable are actually very important for a lot of people who work in the world of drag. In a 2023 interview, All-Star Season 4 contestant and trans woman Farrah Moan said the times in my life where I tried to suppress my trans identity, it was because I felt if I ever did it, I would never be able to be on Drag Race. I'd never be successful and I'd never be able to have a job. Even though the rules of the show are still fairly strict, and these are relatively slow changes, RuPaul's Drag Race is opening to a more positive and playful perspective on who gets to do drag. The aforementioned Willow Pill was actually one of 5 transgender contestants of season 14. Season 15 featured the first openly trans winner, Sasha Colby, and other recent seasons have had a spectrum of trans.
Whenever I've done burlesque,
and gender non-conformity.
some of us say we're in drag because we're playing like a character that's different from ourselves and using a lot of makeup. I don't know if that's completely accurate.
Yeah, okay, let's bring him into this. There is no reason why anyone of any gender can't play around with what gender looks like. People are still holding on for the introduction of drag kings in the show.
Hi, Dawn.
Surely no one thinks masculinity can't be as silly as femininity. Right? I mean, look at Nicolas Cage. Do I think these issues mean RuPaul's Drag Race is bad? No, it's important we can be critical of the issues that emerge in our communities, even if we come from a place of love, particularly if we come from a place of love. So we can make sure that people who participate in public life and entertainment are not exploited and can express their concerns and issues safely. And it's important that we do not try to support the platforms of performers that do not have great financial backing. However, I do think we can all agree it's actually also very positive that we have something like RuPaul's Drag Race in the public eye. The US Congress is trying to ban the LGBTQ plus flag from being flown over US embassies.
Are you serious?
Anti-LGBT bills have become
Why do people fucking hate us so much? Like, why?
Bans were passed last year that are in different stages of implementation. I live in the UK, and our Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says transphobic things occasionally because he wants to be best friends with J.K. Rowling. Unclear. Questions like, how can we make drag more inclusive? Or what issues do drag performers face? Can only be asked because we are comfortable enough that asking these questions is not going to destroy Drag Race as an institution. Oh, it's like how you can moan about your family, but no one else is allowed to. It is still massively important that general audiences get to see drag queens, not just as fellow humans, but as the incredible performers that they can admire, and for drag queens to be able to speak up.
It's easier than learning and trying to understand.
Much more public and also personal position. As Raven, second season contestant and now creative producer on the show,
But drag queens are so good at makeup. Like, I've learned a lot of techniques from them.
That guys do for sexual pleasure. But you don't have to get on drag and be on stage. You can get in drag and go try and make money.
You don't have the energy to hate anyone. But yeah, it takes a lot of energy to hate. Like, come on, people, calm the fuck down, touch some grass, go out into nature, appreciate life.
In bringing drag to a position where it's recognized, respected, and celebrated in ways it's never been before. And that is not nothing. And he gets to have some issues to work through. He gets to not be perfect. Frankly, given the history of criminalization and the stigma of the LGBT community, it's actually a good thing that the queer world has a mainstream at all, that we can criticize from a place of love, because we're all born naked. The rest is drag. What about the fracking? Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Did you know that RuPaul has a husband?
Oh, also Miss Sunrise Dawn.
I know that too. George LeBar.
I don't know if you noticed that you don't have a wrench. I was rearranging some things and I removed some people and I forgot to add them back. And I think I'm guessing you were one of them.
Trapped in rock formations. Wyoming is arid and the process uses an immense amount of water. Resulting fossil fuels also contribute to the climate.
I was trying to actually cut down on the amount of mods that I have because I realized that I need to not just like mod everybody. I need some people that are like steady in my chat.
That's not a defense. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying. Although I do feel like the next season of Drag Race should open.
Okay, I think this is done. Yeah, let me see. I think I'm behind on the chat a little. I sometimes call myself that when I go for walks. Sometimes like I'm trying to motivate myself. Faster, faster, you fat lazy bastard. And I got that from the Faster, Faster, We Need Amy Master. I've not heard that. Yeah, I mean, we are really good at, I guess, insulting ourselves. People sometimes have seen me as lazy because they don't know like exactly what my illness does to me. And so when people can't outwardly see the pain or outwardly see what's going on, it's hard to wrap your head around like what that person actually goes through. I mean, even if you saw it, you still don't really, unless you are in that person's body, it's very hard to know exactly what it feels like. Like I could explain my fatigue and my pain all day long, but unless you actually felt it, like the way that I try and describe is like fatigue is not being tired. Fatigue is like having like a 50-pound bowling ball strapped to each of your limbs and your throat and your head, and you're just like everything, like even lifting your toothbrush feels like it's the most heaviest thing in the world. Like if sometimes when I get extremely fatigued, I can't even really swallow hardly, and I can't really chew because I'll just get my jaw will get too fatigued with it. This is behind the chat, but I wanted to say I hate it when people my generation and older don't get with the program. We work so hard to create change. So living as who we are is easier for everyone. Yeah, I just want people to know. Are you inside my mind? Because I could have said exactly what you're saying. Yes, you're gonna go to Poe. Oh, cool. Yeah. And recently, actually, in the last couple of days, I realized what it really feels like to not have my gabapentin for more than a day. I was out of it, and I was like, okay, I'll be fine. I'll just take ibuprofen. They're two totally different drugs, and I was talking about this with my chat this morning, is that having a nerve-related condition, gabapentin targets the nerves more than like, inflammation. So when, I take ibuprofen, yes, it helps my pain level, but it does not do anything for my fatigue or other things that are affected when I'm not on my gabapentin. And I was very fatigued. Oh my gosh, I could barely eat anything, move, take a shower. It was all extremely hard. But I'm good right now. I have my medicine again. Yeah, like it's becoming increasingly much more hard to like connect with people because on issues that they don't understand, because we now are targeting people in this country again that have been marginalized, like they're like for all of history. And you know, all I hear is, well, back in my day we didn't have as many gay people or as many trans people. It's because people were afraid. People couldn't be themselves. It was illegal to be yourself, or you know, you didn't want to get murdered or something. And I'm just like over people not having those critical thinking skills to really understand the history of everything. And why would we want to, like, we get bullied, we get, you know, targeted and stuff. Why would we want a hard life? Like, we don't want the hard things. We just want to be able to live our lives. And I try and tell people, like, stop like with this rigid like binary stuff, or like, you know, even with trans people or like androgynous people. Like, people look at me and they're like, you're not androgynous enough. I can't take you seriously as a non-binary person because you don't look androgynous. And I'm like, I can make myself look androgynous, but I dress how I feel comfortable and what suits me for that moment, that day, whatever. And you know, I think we desperately like to categorize things. And when we can't categorize something, it kind of breaks our brain, I guess. But the whole thing is, like, we're all humans that don't fit neatly into like a box or 2 boxes or 3 boxes. Like, we should be allowed to just be comfortable and be happy. Hi, Carrie. Like, even when I talk about like intersex stuff, people want to like, assholes want to like want to jump to like just call intersex people mutations, or you know, that's not the norm, so we don't think about them, or we shouldn't think about them. We only should think about the norm. And I'm like, but it is normal for a human to become intersex. Like, there's enough. It's not like a rare condition. There's maybe a little less intersex people than there are trans people. There's not even that many trans people in the world, guys. Like, come on. And so to just completely disregard a whole group of people that form naturally like that, you know, we don't know why there's different combinations of chromosomes. It just happens sometimes. And the thing that I want people to understand is nothing is binary in this world. Nothing. There's like, maybe there's something that's black and white out there, but I don't know what it is. Like, there's nuances to people, there's nuances to situations, nuances to everything. And so, like, I don't know. I just want people to be happy and not have to be afraid to live their lives. Like, I sometimes have this weird guilt that I present the way that I do because I could pretend very easily that I'm a cis straight person or something. And I think because a lot of times I'm with cis men, people just automatically forget or disregard other parts of my sexuality or parts of me. Like, it's not like I'm pansexual. I like everybody. I like anybody. I can be attracted to anybody. So I don't know. And I don't think people should really have to think that hard about their sexuality. We should just be able to like who we like. And you know, I've known a lesbian who thought that she was a lesbian her whole life, and then met one man that she fell in love with. And so, you know, then she was questioning like, oh, well, I didn't know I could be attracted to a man. Like, so, and I also think that we should be allowed to evolve, change. Like, why do we have to stay the same? Why does society expect us to not change our minds about things? why that's the thing that like conservatives like to pick on about trans people. Like, well, there's detransitioners. There's people who have regretted it. There's very, very, very few people who have. And that's fine. Like some people realize, oh, shoot, maybe I'm not like this. Maybe I'm like that instead. Experiment. Be different. Don't be afraid to change your aesthetic or your look or whatever. Like we should, or your career. Like I've changed my career several times in my life, and some like the older generation will tell me, you just can't commit, or you just have, you need to focus on one thing. Why do we have to do that? Like, why can't we move countries if we feel like it? Or like, what is with people wanting things to be like rigid and safe all the time and stay exactly the same? Like, I'm autistic and I don't like change that much, but I also really like change. It's a very weird thing. Just because you can find one example doesn't make that example apply to everyone. Exactly. And hi, Jen. I forgot to say hi to you. Thank you for coming in. I was just watching a thing on the problematic history of RuPaul and like the older generation of queers who think, well, I had it hard, so you don't get to have it easy. Like you should have it as hard as I did type of attitude. And it seems like RuPaul has been changing his mind on some things and listening to the younger generation. So that makes me feel hopeful that people can change, and we should allow people the room to change their behaviors if they've once been like had bad behavior or whatever. Like we shouldn't expect it to change overnight. I always thrive off of patterns. So if someone's patterns are always bad, I gotta let them go. I hope that they change. I like giving people chances. But if you show that your pattern of behavior can't change, or you're unwilling to make it change or put the work in, then I probably won't be around that person. But, I've done bad things in my life to people. I've been mean. I don't like to be mean. I don't mean to be mean sometimes, but we all have our moments. We all make mistakes in life. And what does it say about us if we just throw away people on the first mistake? I mean, depends on what the mistake is, but unless you have murdered someone or, assaulted someone, we can figure it out, right? Comfort zones can be very unfulfilling and negative. Yeah, they can be. I like trying to go outside my comfort zone. I think everybody should try to do things every once in a while that push your boundaries. I think that's probably why I've always liked horror movies. I like things that are challenging or challenge my thought process, or just challenge me in general. I don't know. I like to see how far I can take my emotions, or how far something can take my emotions. Like I'll watch really disturbing movies. Like you give me a list of disturbing movies, I'm like, let's see how disturbing they really are. Like I don't know why I guess that's why a lot of horror fans love horror, because they like their feelings to be challenged. And I can understand that some people in life who have extreme anxiety that really can't handle being outside their comfort zone, but I also feel the same way about triggers. Like some of our trigger warnings have really gotten out of hand. Like I saw one that said fear as a trigger warning. And I'm like, maybe if you have like PTSD, or if you have something that triggers you, maybe you need to sit in that trigger, because through an EMDR, that's what you're doing. You have to sit in those feelings and those memories and that uncomfortable zone so you can desensitize your response to that trigger. I'm learning a lot with EMDR, and it's been good so far, and it has helped me break my thought process of some things that have happened in my life. And it also teaches you healthy compartmentalizing, I think. I never really understood compartmentalizing. I always thought, well, why would you do that? You're just pushing things away. You need to get those things out there. But with EMDR, you're not just putting things away to not deal with them. You're putting things away in the moment so you can come back to them later. You're saying to yourself, okay, this is triggering me. I can't think about this right now. You got to take that feeling, that memory, that whatever, place it into your safe container, lock that for a minute, get to it later. The purpose isn't to ignore things that come up. It's to teach yourself how to recognize the trigger and then go, okay, I'm okay. I can get through this. This is fine. I'm not going to have that strong of a response or a response at all. Yeah, isn't EMDR wonderful? I don't know what that is. Spravato? I haven't heard of that before. Give me a link or tell me more about it. You can always message me later too. EMDR saved your life in 2022. That's so good, Dawn. I'm so glad for you. Yeah, I decided to try it because literally everybody that I talked to that has tried it said it worked for them. And so, I'm all about like it, even though it's scary, change is scary. I'm all about trying new things that may alleviate my issues, my pain. Excuse me. I need more water. So before I started EMDR, I don't know if the book is not accessible to me right now. I have this book that I bought that talks about all these different types of therapies: CBT, DBT, somatic, vasovagal stuff, EMDR, just so I could get like a good, oh, thank you so much, Dawn. Love you. Have fun in post stream. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I gotta run. Have a great night, Mandy, and everyone else. Okay, bye, Larry. Thank you. Oh my gosh, my train of thought. Forgot what I was saying. Anyway, so yeah, I bought that book, and so I read up on stuff before I started doing it, just so I could kind of wrap my mind about what it would entail. Like, I like things to be explained to me, so I'm not surprised by something. So yeah, reading that really helped, and listening to other people talk about their EMDR experiences really helped me feel confident into going into it, and because I know that it's very heavy work. And so I knew I was going to have to like confront more stuff and deal with more processing. I didn't know exactly how much. We tapped into my core memory, and I've been kind of a wreck since. Does anybody want to know what my core memory is? I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm actually maybe talking about it to other people other than just my therapist and my close people might help me or somebody else. I'll talk about it. I don't want anybody to really go ham on me on like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I appreciate those things, but sometimes I don't know how to like react. And this is a very like intense kind of thing. Like I went through a lot of intense situations that I'm lucky that I survived. No, I have more than one core memory, but this is my first memory, and the one that has stuck with me my whole life. And so for context, if nobody knows, I went to live with my grandparents around the age of 3. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug addict. And they didn't stay together for very long. We have exactly one family picture together. And they split up when I was taken. And this memory, I remember waking up in just a diaper on a mattress with no blankets on it. It was storming outside. I was in a basement, and on the window was a Confederate flag, and I could hear people upstairs. And then I just remember going up the steps, and the door was locked. I started banging on it, and I couldn't get anybody. And I cried. For the longest time, I thought it was a place that my mom visited. But it turns out that we lived there because I talked to my grandmother more about this memory. And actually, my grandmother came and got me at one point from the house because they were all doing drugs around me. So that has led to me having a lot of abandonment issues. A lot of fear of rejection, because I couldn't understand why my parents, my mother, would just forget about me. And how I ended up in my grandmother's arms permanently was my mom left me at the babysitter's house once and didn't come back. I guess she was passed out somewhere on drugs for a weekend bender. And she called my grandmother and was like, oh yeah, Mandy's mom has not been back. I'm running out of diapers. You need to come get her. So my grandmother came and got me again the last time. And then we just had court battles after that. So that is that core memory. And it has like really been bugging at me ever since I started working on it in EMDR. Because I do have a very big, intense fear of rejection and abandonment. Thank you, Heather. And then, that started even more abuse from other family members. But if you want to hear my full story, I have it on another channel, which I've been told that I should probably just roll what I was trying to do in that series over to this channel and just have a playlist tab for that series. It was for a podcast I was trying to start last year, and then I ended up only doing one episode, my story. And so it's kind of a TLDR of my life. And so if you want to go see it, let me pull it up real fast. So I'll start having this podcast come back, and then I'm gonna just have it on this channel. So this channel will not exist eventually, and I will re-upload my episode. So that is the episode that I did of my story. If you are interested in watching that, I think it's a little less than an hour. I was able to get, as much of the big stuff told to people in about that amount of time, because it's a lot. There's a lot of specifics in my life that are very hard for me to still talk about. Yeah, I'm gonna probably get off of here and get ready to go over on Twitch. I'm going to DJ on Twitch in a little bit. And if you want, here is the Twitch TV link, and Great Catsby _ is my name. I should have added that to the link. Oops, sorry about that. Most of my socials are in my link tree. So this is my link tree down on the screen, and it has my Venmo, my Twitch, Instagram. I don't remember if I put my band stuff on there, but I'm gonna put it on there if it's not on there, and then my photography stuff. So yeah, go to check out my link tree. If you are on Twitch, follow me on there, and hopefully I get to reschedule with Jen Marie, and I wish her the best of healing through COVID, because that sucks. Glad I caught you live. I'll replay from the beginning. Cool. Thanks so much for being here, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.